Rip. Actually started streaming just then. So this video will be about a essay that I wrote. It was supposed to be a narrative essay. You guys be the judge. And I'm gonna read it word for word on here. It is actually a 6-page, which is supposed to be like 3 to 5, but accidentally went to 6. And I was told that this wasn't going to be a good essay, or a narrative essay, because she said that it was more of a story more than an actual narrative essay. So this is actually a story about a guy named Ryder, and the title is called All Doors Closed. I like to really leave like subtle hints and like really just set the feel with just the title. In my essays, I really like to grab the attention. So All Doors Closed was in the end a very impactful message. Let's get into this, shall we? A long autumn breeze slaps Ryder in the face as he rides home on his bike from his local high school, which he cannot wait to finish his final year next year. As a junior, it came to a surprise that he would be given the privilege to check out early and ride home on his bike every day. This feature was very abnormal and selective. Ryder figured this must be a response to his very high test scores in literature, or in both literature and mathematics from last summer. It was above the highest score, or it was above even the highest scorer / test taker in the country. Ryder very average, or I fucking said that wrong. Ryder, very average on the outside, was a very smart individual, and this little detail made sure to keep secret until now. Or he made sure to keep it a secret until now. The leaves rising up and scraping against the hard concrete. The sun blazing the concrete with a sudden fiery flame that matches the intensity of the willingness and dedication Ryder has in his heart for his little hobby. He wasn't hurting anyone, but he just wanted to get away from his life, even if it was only for just 1 second in a million seconds. His hobby? Shooting guns and breaking into houses. Ryder had his eyes on this one house at the end of the road. It always seemed untouchable to him. Of course, there is a reason, but I don't want to let you in on that little secret just yet. Ryder listened to his bicycle wheels spinning and the chains rattling, checking the durability and making sure it would be ready for tonight. Maybe a tad more oil and adjust the seat. That should do it, don't you think, Claire? Yes, Ryder says to Claire, a friend from preschool. She was a taller girl, but had natural blonde hair that flowed down to her shoulders like an unending cornfield, and that was not supposed to seem like an insult. The hair that she had at the time was just never-ending and grew back so fast. She also had a nice slight tan that Ryder always found attractive. In fact, one time in 7th grade, Ryder asked her if she was ever going to be pale, as he deemed himself non-tannable and was jealous of her. No matter how red he got after swimming in a pool with no shirt on, it was just never enough. Never indulge in greed. It will ruin you. Yeah, I suppose I do think that you need to stop this, though. What do your parents think? Claire says in a seductive yet unapproving tone. What do you mean, stop? Stop what? Ryder responds very reluctantly, as he hasn't told her the full truth about him continuing the invasions. You see, he agreed to stop the home invasions last summer, as he was becoming very much like a loose cannon and constantly breaking in and stealing from rich and poor folk, whatever. And it was very scary to Claire. Claire eventually told him to stop, and ever since the start of Ryder's junior year, the invasions have started again. And Claire assumed it was Ryder, again. She was right, but until this moment, it was all just an assumption. You're wrong. It isn't me. This guy just did stuff to my little brother. It is just something that I have thought about for a while. I don't know. Don't you ever just feel like you're invincible? Like you can do anything? This guy has that power. And I want you to take it from him. Or not you. And I want to take it from him. He took my brother, and now he is dead. So doing this now won't hurt anyone. I will be a hero. God to this town. And maybe we can all get some sleep around here. Ryder finally concludes his rant. I'm sleeping just fine. Claire responds non-aggressively to Ryder as they both sit down on the grass in a richer neighborhood. Let me add something there. A little period. Free from crime, they both begin to relax and calmly question each other's stance on law enforcement. They also begin to question if they should take their friendship to a more romantic relationship. Well, I am not. I can't go one day without thinking of what that monster did to him. There would be just, Ryder says in this rage, but is slowly calmed down by a kiss on the lips from Claire. The kiss lasted a short period of time, and then it was over. Ryder realized what he wanted the most in the entire world. To be where this woman would be, and nowhere else. Ryder stood up and says with a smirk, if I don't do this tonight, while I'm still breathing with lungs full of fresh air, I may never go through with it. He smiles down at Claire. Claire begins to realize that if she doesn't do something drastic and out of character, Ryder may do something he may never come back from. Maybe you do not have to do this. Please, as your best friend, do not. I implore you, do not do this. Claire says slowly as her voice begins to tremble from the tears that are now forming in her eyes. I love you, darling. Ryder says that if there was something else he wanted to say, but he realized halfway through that there should be nothing more said. Claire, now in full streams of tears, jumps up off the grass and hugs Ryder. She now knows that there is nothing she could ever have said or say now that will change his mind. The only thing she could think to do is to snatch his hand and place it on one of her breasts. Lost for words, Ryder peers back up to her eyes. They're now glistening with the blue tint from the gloomy night sky mixed in with a full bright moon. He goes to kiss her again with more passion and dismay. She puts her hand over his face and tells him, one more time, please, do not do this. Claire says in an already conclusive and out of options panicky tone, darling, this is something I must do. In fact, I won't be satisfied until that man is dead. Ryder says as he looks back towards the house at the end of the road. The rage in Ryder's eye fills his surroundings with the utter fact that he is determined to do this. The loud buzzing from the light post near Ryder begins to slowly fade as he walks down the street. Thump! 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 Ryder's shoes brutally echoing throughout the neighborhood each step he takes and seizes. Claire, in shock and panic, watches Ryder walking away from her with eyes still streaming. In her own way, she realizes the brave, determined, smart individual she once knew is now becoming a person she no longer recognizes. She also begins to question if this was going to be enough for him, or will he continue on with this undefined rage? With this undefined rage that she seemed to not understand, something that erupted a long time ago, that was never explained, even before his brother was picked up by a police officer and was murdered in the police investigation room. Thump. Ryder's shoes kept infinitely rising in volume as he quickly approached the old and well-lit house at the end of the street. He hears a beep. He hears a beep. Huh? Ryder questions. Beep. Beep. Then the sound of dialing behind him continued with the voice of a police officer speaking on a cellular device. Hi, my name is Claire Matthews. I need to report a disturbance on 509 Myrtle Street. I think I may know who is causing all the home invasions that have been going on for the past 3 years. Claire ends the call abruptly, intending to incriminate herself in order to save Ryder. Ryder, please, go now. You can get out of this. You do not need to do this. Or, you do not need to know this. Dear God, do you... I don't know why I put no. It should have been do. You do not need to do this. Dear God, you really don't know, do you? This guy's a trained police officer and he will kill you. Do you seriously want that to happen? Claire yells out, begging him to stop. Ryder slowly exhales and doesn't believe his own best friend ratted him out like this. He doesn't turn around. He only utters the words, "My brother." Ryder begins to cry and becomes cowardice in front of her. Click, 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 click. Police officers are running out of the surrounding houses next to the old house. Loud front doors slamming and glass shattering. All of them begin to yell the cliche yet frightening statements that Ryder knew eventually he would hear. Put your hands up now. You are now going under arrest. You are done. All of the police officers line up in a circle around Claire and Ryder, leaving Ryder one hole open. Claire runs to hug him from behind and whispers into his ear, "Please, darling, it's okay. Just tell the truth," Claire says with a cry. The truth is, I'm not done. This is not over. He killed my brother. He's going to pay for his sins. Today is his day of reckoning. Ryder says as he pulls her arms off of him. He starts walking up the steps one at a time. Your brother is alive! He is in witness protection. He was in a gang, Ryder. He told me never to tell. He never wanted to disappoint or have you hate him. You have turned into him. You're better than that, Claire yells out with the truth with such a resonant echo that continues over the neighborhood. Ryder turns around finally and looks into her eyes, realizing she's told him the full truth with zero hesitation. I love you, Ryder. Please just come back and let them arrest you, Claire responds to Ryder's silence. He begins to take a step towards the steps to come down, but says in response, I'm too far gone. Ryder kicks in the officer's house and closes the door, sealing his fate. Everyone in silence cannot believe the purest evil they had just witnessed. All standing still are awoken by the loud flash from a gunshot that erupted into the house. Claire in her heart knows it was Ryder being shot by the officer. A figure walks out of the front door of the house with dark red blood dripping off his coat and says, Now, you can arrest me. The officers run to snatch up the figure as Claire watches the figure being dragged into the police car. Claire gets a glimpse further as they lower the figure's head back down into the back seat, revealing it was Ryder's coats and pants. She begins to cry with such loud screams that would break even a vigorous man's heart to hearken. A man emerges from the doorway of the front door in an officer's uniform and yells out, I will be out in a moment to give a statement. The man goes back inside and the sound of a door closing echoing from the back of the house. Claire was the only person to hear this sound, which even now, years later, still haunts her from time to time. After all the break-ins and eventually bloodshed, I now realize that after being in love with Ryder, he was very troubled at an early age, even before his brother was murdered. He was troubled, I guess. I really just wanted to help and change him for the better. Sometimes, some people can't or won't change, and that sometimes they are too far gone. Sometimes it is never enough. Years later, I realized that the back door of the house at the end of the street opened after the gunshot. After the man with Ryder's clothes was in the police car, something strange had occurred that night, and I would love to know what. That was my 6-page narrative essay. Now you guys are going to say, well, a narrative essay, it's supposed to be about, proving something, proving a point, or a thesis. Now, I went with a thesis that was very heavily implied. And you get that towards the end, that the way I structured this essay was to basically convince the audience that this person who's narrating in this third person format point of view wasn't involved, but in reality it was Claire who was actually who was actually narrating, and eventually it switches to first person, which I wrote that intentionally because that's not something you see often in a lot of essays. So I decided to go with something a little bit more controversial in terms of writing style. And this was All Doors Closed, and the meaning behind that is basically writer eventually evolved into someone who wasn't going to take no for an answer and wasn't going to back down. And the overall point of the story is subjective. Either not to overindulge in greed, to not take action for revenge, not to become a person of an evil heart. And that's the one I always go with. So, you guys tell me if this was a narrative essay. I don't know anyone who's actually really that good in, analyzing narrative essays. But if you guys tell me this was really good, in a way I agree that I did write it like a story. However, I intended it to be a narrative essay to describe a person who slowly, they didn't go insane, but they just lost their humanity over the course of the essay. And you have someone on the outside who saw this and just wanted their best friend to come back. But in the end, it was they were too far gone. And in my opinion, the purpose of this essay was to convince you to stop a friend of yours that you know and, check them and make sure that, and correct them in, a good way, and trying to make sure they don't do something so drastic that they'll never recover, Now, I did have to write an alternative essay, which sucks, because it was not as good as that one. Fuck, that was amazing, in my opinion. It was really damn good. There were so many plot twists at the end of the fucking essay that was just holy shit, Claire was actually the narrator in the story. She was actually involved. All that good stuff. So, I liked it a lot. So I'm actually going to get this out. I love you guys to death. I know I haven't been recording videos. I've just been so caught up on work. I'm still in my work clothes. So, I love you guys to death. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Let me know what you guys thought. I wasn't actually going to record this or put it out there, but because I wanted to eventually make it into an actual short film. But it's hard to do that. But really I could do it. It's just people I can't just, women are very hard to get into an acting role where I live, so it's even males, to be honest, it's hard to get people to get motivated to do stuff like this, but I hope you guys enjoyed this little story. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys next time.